My name is Norio Hayakawa. I was born in the city of Yokohama, Japan in 1944. I grew up over there, attended an international school from grade 1 all the way to high school. When I was growing up, my father used to tell us, that is my sister and my mother, at the dinner table of his strange experience of having witnessed what he called a strange greenish ball of fire while he was night fishing in the Bay of Yokohama. This happened in 1947, one summer evening. Anyway, I became interested in flying saucers when I was in high school, because there are lots of stories in Japan where people kept records of having seen strange things from time immemorial, such as the Utsuro Bune, the hollow ship sightings in Japan. So I was fascinated, and I actually joined a lot of UFO research organizations in Japan. But one day in 1964, while I was studying at the university in Tokyo, I heard of this strange incident coming from a small town called Socorro, New Mexico, which I never heard. So I read that story in April of 1964. I became fascinated with the sighting of a strange oval-shaped object that was sighted by Patrol Officer Lonnie Zamora. And this was the famous Lonnie Zamora incident that took place on April 24th, 1964, just outside of White Sands Missile Range, just outside of Socorro, New Mexico. It really fascinated me, and I became interested in the Lonnie Zamora story, and I became interested in New Mexico. In 1965, I got a partial scholarship at a college in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and began to attend that college, majoring in Spanish. It was located in the beautiful side of Albuquerque, the west side. In 1973, I moved to Phoenix, Arizona, and began teaching in a rural high school, public school. I was teaching Spanish. While I was in Phoenix, I did other things also. I joined some country western bands and started playing in restaurants and so on. And at one time, the band traveled all the way to Nellis Air Force Base for the Officers Club. Now, while I was in Phoenix, I got a letter from my mother, who was a skeptic about UFOs and who didn't believe my father's story too much. But anyway, that letter that I received in 1975 while I was living in Phoenix was shocking, because in that letter she said that morning she and her grandson witnessed a flying saucer. Actually, it was only her, because something told her to turn around as they were coming down from the railroad station. And Lord behold, over the railroad station was a hovering flying saucer with a dome attached to it. She was so shocked, and she pointed to the grandson to turn around and look towards the station. But at that moment, that object totally vanished, or rather dematerialized. I believe that my mother did see a flying saucer, but the thing is, what was that flying saucer really? That is still my question. I moved to California in 1982. I was looking for a job in Los Angeles, and I joined a funeral home a Japanese American funeral home in Los Angeles because they were looking for somebody to stay upstairs and answer the phone at night. So I became a licensed funeral director. I did that for almost 30 years in Los Angeles. But in 1989, I was in the morgue listening to a radio station coming from Las Vegas. It was a talk radio show. And every night there was this guest, Bob Lazar, who claimed to have been working in a secret location called Area 51. But actually, where he was working, he said, was just south of Area 51 in a place called S4, right by Papoose Lake. But the problem is that there's no credible evidence that there's any facility located on Papoose Lake. Now, I believe that Area 51 is a vital research, development, and test facility for a national defense. But I began to believe that there was nothing extraterrestrial about Area 51. I've been there to the perimeter so many times taking journalists and reporters, but I came to the conclusion that there's nothing alien about Area 51. I organized some rallies at Area 51 to address the issue of the workers who were sickened by coming in touch with toxic chemical materials, those chemical substances, while working on the stealth program at Area 51. So that was my concern. Later on, the TV crew that I accompanied also traveled to New Mexico, to a place called Dulce, New Mexico, where in 1990 there were still some rumors that something strange was going on outside of the town of Dulce, New Mexico, right by the Archuleta Mesa. And I became friends with many local people, and I was interested in finding out if there was actually an underground base over there, but my conclusion was that there's nothing to indicate that there was any kind of a base, underground base in Dulce. But yet, I have heard so many local residents who claim to have seen a lot of strange things like humongous triangular craft and so on. So it is my belief that although I have not found any evidence of a physical underground base in Dulce, New Mexico, I believe that there is something going on over there even today. And I believe that there is such a thing called paraphysical phenomena. And my conclusion is that paraphysical phenomena exist in Dulce, New Mexico. And in part 2, I'll be talking about why the United States government will never disclose the true nature of this strange phenomena, the UFO phenomena. Please watch part 2 of this video. This is Norio Hayakawa in Albuquerque, New Mexico.